Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Lindsay Pollock from Sarasota University, and we have Clint Loesch here, who's our IT guru. And in the background, Clint will be in and out. And we are honored today to welcome Dr. Queinnise Miller. Dr. Miller is a professor, international speaker, published author, consultant, mentor, coach, and longtime educational leader. And I am honored to also know her as a friend and colleague and someone who I highly respect and admire. Dr. Miller is currently an assistant professor in the Educational Leadership and Policy Analysis doctoral program at the University of Houston Clear Lake and has spent more than 23 years in education. Where did that time go, Queinnise?
I know.
Just like in a blink of an eye, the time was gone. And here we are today. I know that you've done so many various things in education, from teacher to principal, assistant principal, district leader, coach, and leadership development expert. I think one of the things that I so admire about you, Queinnise, is that your life's work has been centered on the central belief that all children deserve a world-class education, regardless of cultural or economic background. And I know you agree with me that zip code does not determine outcome, right? That is not the
Absolutely.
trajectory. You are deeply passionate about helping educators and leaders teach and lead with love by putting humans first. Your background is in English as a second language, bilingual education, instructional leadership, and inclusive leadership development. I know you have trained and supported thousands of leaders across the United States and beyond in school systems and nonprofits and organizations. And I know we are in for a treat today as you share your message, Lead with Love. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Lindsay. Listen, it is an honor to be with you all and all of your audience here today. I have a special place in my heart for Montessori schools. My firstborn son, that was the first school that he ever went to. And I'm going to tell you, I wish we could have continued that journey. He is so amazing, and his level of independence, his level of being able to critically think, his level of being able to advocate for himself and for his learning. And it's so funny because, we intentionally put him in a Montessori school so he could build those skills. And I remember the day that it came back to me and he's like, Mom, these are the things that I think are best for my learning. And I go, it's, you know what? It's that wonderful foundation that you have to make you do that. So I was really excited. So I am honored to be here. I'm gonna share my screen. And so I have a presentation, but let me just say this. I would love opportunity for discussion if people want to put something in the chat. That would be great. And I would love to facilitate some discussion and not just kind of speak at you. And you also, Lindsay, if you want to just kind of come in and we can kind of talk about some of these things, and how these strategies really impact where we are today in the world. So
That
we're going
sounds
to talk.
great. And I'll be
Perfect.
monitoring the chat, Dr. Miller, if that's okay. I'll be keeping an eye on
That
the
is
chat. And
amazing.
if anyone would like to come off mute, just raise your hand and we can make that happen too. But I'll watch the chat and so excited to be here with you today.
Perfect, perfect. Yeah, because I don't think I can see the chat. So or maybe I can, I'm not sure. But yeah, I'll just kind of focus in on here. So I appreciate the support. So we're going to talk about leading with love and how that is going to change, how we can change the world one human at a time. And as educators, that is super, super important because I believe that we have let me make sure I can push. Uh-oh, sorry. I believe that we have the privilege of being at the ground level of creating and supporting and developing human beings. And so I'm going to play this little thing really quickly to just kind of set some groundwork. Can you hear it, Lindsay?
Yes, I can.
Can't possibly know the magnitude of impact we would someday have until we're up. Throughout life, we'll move through many roles: student, educator, expert, leader. And as we journey our lives, we will yearn for the touch of leaders, those who truly see us when we're blind to our own worth. Leaders who listen in times when our voices tremble with significance. Those who bolster and elevate us when we stumble under the weight of our dreams. And who infuse our existence with love and laughter. Leaders that perceive us not merely as pupils or staff, but as human beings. At its essence, leadership is merely humans leading humans, humans serving humans. And when we as humans lead with love, well, it makes all the difference. We make all the difference. From the classroom to the boardroom, these are the leaders who make the difference, the ones who contribute to the fabric of life, changing the face of humanity. May we be them. May we love them. May we lead them. Because we can't possibly know the magnitude of impact that any of us will someday make. But when that time comes, may we all be equipped with the power to lead with love. Love, laugh, then lead, and the rest will follow.
Focusing on is about humans, leading humans, and humans serving humans. And in this work that we do, it is so easy to get inundated with with all the things, the curriculum, the leadership, the political and social shifts that happen in education, the parents, the planning. I mean, I could go on and on, but we can't forget that we are in the human business and the children that we are blessed to serve, and the teachers and the parents and everyone, they are human. And there's some things about humanity that we have to remember. So as we go through this session, there's a few things. There's going to be some songs in here because I love music, and I believe that music and love are together. They're a universal language, and so there'll be some songs here. We're not in person, so I won't be able to call you back. But I want you all to really interact and engage within yourselves. If you're there with the team, within the chat, and I am not the expert of humanity here. We all are. And so I just want to make sure that we're engaging together and that your voice is heard. I don't need to go over who I am. Thank you, Lizzie. You did an amazing job. But what I want you all to know is those are my babies. Aren't they cute? Those are my humans. And it's these two humans that I think about specifically in education on how much I depend on their teachers, their leaders, their principals to love them, because they are with them way more time than I am. I am putting my biggest confidence in those that are in control or in power of supporting and developing and growing my children. And I want them to have the best. And because I want them to have the best, I am committed to supporting and giving the best to the children that I serve, and helping leaders to be able to create environments where the children that they are serving also have the best, right? Because we have to have this level of ownership of the children that we've dedicated our lives to. And if we don't have ownership to love them like ours, to discipline them like ours, to develop them like ours, to encourage them and motivate them and inspire them and hold them accountable like our own children, then they will fall through the cracks. They will fall through the cracks. If we're not advocating for other people's children like we do our own, then we are missing the opportunity. So, I try to do that work through love, through laughter, and through, of course, the most important thing to me is leadership. Okay, so I'll keep going, but is there anything in the chat, Lindsay? Because I could just go, 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 go.
We have a message from my dear friend Regina saying this is super perfect timing. So,
Oh, yay!
yay.
Good timing, good timing. So we empower change through this power of love. I don't know about y'all, but change, it is needed. It is needed right now. There's so much happening, Lindsay, in the world today, in society, and there's a shift that's needed. And I believe that it is love that is at the core of what is going to inspire the change that we need. What do you think about that?
I agree with you wholeheartedly, Queinnise, and I see some of the disturbing trends that are happening around us, and these are not trends that are grounded in love. These are not
Yeah,
trends that are grounded in our humanity and recognizing the miracle of each human being and their individual worth, each person,
absolutely.
and the power of love. There are many great faith traditions that based on the greatest of all is love,
The
loving
greatest of
ourselves,
all.
loving one another, that we demonstrate and embody the power of love.
Absolutely. So it's funny because I was looking on, I'm gonna see if I can find this on your website, the Montessori website, and there's a message from the founder, the creator of Montessori. She's talking about her experience in this school, in these classrooms, and she says, they had pens, they had papers, they had this, but I could tell no one loved them. They didn't get the support from their parents, from the teachers. No one loved them.
Mhm.
And that no matter what type of schooling you're in, no matter what organization you're in, no matter what you're doing, when you're dealing with humans, love is important. And I am not one to preach specific religious beliefs and things like that. But one thing I do know, you said the most important thing of these things is love. And I believe
Mhm.
that in this work with children, we are doing God's work 100% because we have the ability, we have the most precious things in our hands to mold and to develop and to really set them forth. And I believe that God is love, right? And so what does this mean, right? What does this mean that, if we're saying love and we believe this is where God's work and this is love, then what does this actually mean? Because sometimes I think there's a misconception, Lindsay, that love is just, gushy wushy hugs and kisses. And that's not the truth. And so I want to just share a little bit of these are some people that I go to when I think about what love really looks like. And there's this group that really had it right. I don't know if you remember this group, Lindsay.
All you need is love,
Remember that song?
love is
Oh,
all you
yes,
need.
absolutely.
All we need is love. The Beatles, okay? They're my number one go-to because that song was written in a time where our society looked very similar to what we're dealing with right now. There was conflict, there was division, there was, spaces where people were looking for the answer. And the Beatles
Mhm.
said,
All you
all
need
we
is
need
love.
is all we need is love,
All
right?
you need is
And
love.
then we've got Maslow. I don't know, Maslow hierarchy of needs, Lindsay. I know you
Oh,
remember that,
absolutely. Yeah.
right? So
You can't,
go ahead.
you can't, there's a phrase that I heard just recently. You can't bloom until you Maslow.
You can't bloom until you Maslow. Absolutely. And there's seven needs that he says that humans need to
Mhm.
be able to thrive, to be able to be successful, to be able to operate at their highest level of good. But the
That's right.
foundational three are the three that I believe we really have to hone in on. And those foundational three are physical safety, right? Children,
Yes.
teachers, everyone needs to know that I can come into a space and physically be well. No one's going to hurt me. No one's going to attack me. Nothing's going to fall on my head. I'm physically safe. The
Yes.
next one is psychological safety.
That's right.
Do I feel safe do I feel safe to be me? Do I feel safe to think? Do I feel safe to advocate? Do I feel safe, emotionally? Am I going to be bullied? Am I going to be, criticized? Do I feel safe
Yes.
psychologically?
Do I feel accepted? Do I feel accepted for
Do I feel
who
accepted?
I am? Yep.
Absolutely. And the third one in that foundational three is love and belonging.
Yes.
And I believe, Lindsay, that our children should feel those things no matter what building, no matter what school, no matter what space they go into. All
That's right.
humans should be able to feel that no matter where they go. And unfortunately, Lindsay, that is not always true.
I'm sad to say I see it. I see it around me. I see it. And not just children. We're talking about adults too.
Adults,
And adults who do not feel accepted and cherished and valued for who they can be authentically, who they are in
absolutely.
their own personhood, it trickles down to the children. And
It
as
does.
leaders, this is embracing all the people who walk through our front door, all the families, all the people on our staff, and treating everyone on my school campus with love. And it doesn't matter what dress I'm wearing, what shoes I'm wearing. It doesn't matter what backpack I'm carrying or what purse. It doesn't matter how expensive the car is that I'm driving or if I took the bus to work. Every person on my campus is loved and accepted and welcomed as an equal partner on my
Absolutely.
campus.
But
Adults and our precious treasures
and our
of
precious
children.
children
Yep,
because it's a human right. It's a
that's right.
human need. And we are in the human business. And then
Amen.
finally, there's these two ladies who I've written two books now, and we'll talk about Lead with Love today. But these two ladies, one's name is Dr. Geneva Gay. She's here in the right hand side, right hand upper corner, and then we've got Dr. Nell Noddings, right? And these are two researchers that do a lot of work around culturally responsive pedagogy. However, their most important work, in my opinion, because these are like my favorite two women, is this concept and this theory called culturally responsive caring. And I'm like, what
Mm,
is that? And
there we go.
essentially, they say it's not about culture, where you're from, who you are, how much money you have, what language you speak, what your ethnicity is. What they're saying is, at a very basic level, foundational level, you have to care about the humans that you're serving. Because if you don't know, you've heard the saying, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. I think that may have been
Yes.
Flippin I forgot who said that. I think it was it
Is
was
it Parker Palmer?
yeah, I think so. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it
I'll look
rings
it, I'll
true.
Google it while you keep talking.
Okay. It rings true. And so
Yes.
they say that we've got to treat children, we've got to treat teachers, we've got to treat our staff members, we've got to treat people as and give them respect as humans. And when we make the human connection, then and only then will we open up the doors for them to learn, for them to thrive, for them to really be able to operate at high levels because they feel seen, they feel heard, they feel loved. And that is where we need to return back our focus on how do we ensure that the humans that we're serving, that we're leading, that we're teaching are feeling all those things.
That's right. And Dr. Miller, that quote is attributed on my quick Google search to Theodore Roosevelt. Yes, yes. And I'm looking at more than one source. So How funny. I didn't know
Wow.
that. I
I
had no
didn't
idea.
either.
Wow.
Theodore
So there
Roosevelt.
we
You learn
go.
something
I know
every
that
day.
quote well. Yes.
I just love how that quote has just, traveled through time with us because
Yes.
it resonates so truly still today, every single day,
Yes.
because Theodore Roosevelt, if I remember, he really focused in on humanity, right? And loving people. He was a great president. So strong leaders create change. Strong leaders lead with love. Now, I want us to know that it is change that we are looking for right now in education. But one of the things I think that's super important, I was listening to the Courage to Lead podcast that you all just did a few weeks ago, and there
Yes.
was a participant there that was I believe, a coach, and she goes, "I'm not really a leader." And I believe Tim said, "No, wait a minute. Let's unpack that a little bit. You are a leader, right? Because the truth is, we all lead, no matter where your position, whether you're a second grade teacher, whether you're a stay at home mom, whether you are a CEO or a superintendent or a coach or a interventionist or what, it doesn't matter the role and the seat that you sit in. Moms, we are leaders, dads are leaders, sisters, like we all lead,
That's
right?
right.
No matter
That's
what, we're
exactly
leading and we're teaching. And so I think it's important for you to not say, "Oh, we're talking about leadership," because a lot of people have a misconception that your position is what makes you a leader, but it's not your position. I want to say, and I want to argue that I believe it's your purpose that makes you a leader.
I would agree with that 1,000%.
It's your purpose. And
It
when
is.
your purpose involves people, oh,
Hmm.
you are a leader. So I just want to make sure that everyone here is like, okay, I see myself as a leader. I know that I am a leader, and I am ready now to kind of take this learning from what is my leadership positionality and purpose, so that you can better lead those that you're serving. So okay, here you go. So I had an opportunity, and it was an amazing opportunity to do a TED Talk. If you all have the opportunity to go on YouTube or go on TEDx, type in my name, and you will see it come up. It's called Choosing to Lead with Care. And so I'm gonna just play this little clip. And so we're gonna dive into what is it meant by lead with love. And it's so funny. I used to say this all the time. I used to say, lead with love to when I had my assistant principals, all of my leaders, I would say lead with love. And it just kind of became kind of my tagline. But what I recognize is, Quenice, Dr. Q, I don't know if everybody understands what you mean by that, but more importantly, how to lead with love. And that is what we're going to, dive into today. But let me play this little clip.
Y'all, love, it's a verb. It's what you do. We've got to decide to lead with love. Let's just care. Caring leads to connection, and connection leads to people truly able to follow a mission, a vision, and a purpose.
So I'm going to be really vulnerable here. This TED Talk, I had no clue what I wanted to talk about, but I remember something that happened in my career that was pretty significant. I had a leader once, and I got hurt. I was hurt by this leader. And what I mean by that is I loved education. I love what I did. And this particular leader, and I've had some amazing leaders, and I've had, and I had an experience where I had a leader that wasn't so amazing. And I remember how that leader made me feel. I didn't feel seen. I didn't feel heard. I didn't feel valued. And it made me not want to do this work anymore. But the truth is, I was purposed for this work. I don't know what I would do if I was in education. No, I'm lying. I would be a singer, but unfortunately, I can't sing. And then my other career would be dancing, but I can't dance either. So I think God was like, "No, we're going to keep you here in education." But I was hurt, Lindsay, and out of my
Oh,
pain, And it was really, I wanted to leave. I just didn't want to do that anymore. And the truth is that the people don't leave the work. Education is really, really, really hard, and it is a lot of work. But and
Yes.
other fields as well. I believe that people
Yeah.
leave leaders. They leave spaces and environments that don't make them feel valued, heard, loved, cared for, or safe psychologically, physically, emotionally. That is what people leave. And
I
it's
agree with that.
unfortunate.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's those factors why we're seeing so many people leaving the field. People don't feel physically safe for a variety of reasons, and there's an assault on educators by the public. And so, as leaders on our campuses and with one another, it's the time to build these campuses, these cultures of caring and expressing love with one another. And like you said earlier, this is not about the mushy gushy or inappropriate. We're talking about a very specific love that is
Yes,
that responsibility that we have human to human, and showing
absolutely.
respect and that care and that nurturing, that spirit of generosity with one another, where we embrace each other in this purpose, in this big, big work that we're called to do.
That we're called to do. And you are right, Lindsay. And that is what I believe leading with love is. Leading with love
Yeah.
is just,
Y'all,
it's just caring. It's just caring, right?
Yep.
And love, and it's a verb. It's not something that you say, it's not something that you just feel. No, love comes from what you do. And one of my favorite scriptures is, the Corinthians, where it talks about love is patient, love is kind, love is, and it's all these different verbs and adjectives of what it looks like, sounds like, and feels like.
Yes.
Love these actions of what you do. And then there's so many references talking about love being what you do, how you put forth effort. It's something coming from you, right? And so to
That's
lead
right.
with love, I created this framework called Just Care, because it's the caring and the nurturing where you are able to experience someone's love, like you just said, Lindsay.
That's
And
right.
so this framework, Just Care, it's 8 different actions that we can do to show love in leadership. We know that love is the answer, and this is a school in Stafford that leveraged the Just Care framework in their professional development, right? So that
Oh,
teachers
great.
understood what loving their children, what does that look like? And these things look different depending on the humans and the audience that you're serving, right? And
Sure.
so I wish we could go in depth for each one of these actions, okay? But I wrote a book. I don't know if you all can see it. It's called Lead with Love, where I go into detail around what these actions look like, what these actions, how to practically use them. And do you remember Mulaney Golden, Lindsay?
Yes, yes, I do.
She was the editor for the book.
Oh
So
my goodness.
I know she's doing really,
Wow,
really
all these
well.
connections. Oh, that's
Yes.
wonderful.
And you know
Well,
how she was amazing.
she is incredible.
She is
And
amazing.
I'm just so taken by the J, in Just Care. We had Rich Sheridan on recently, who's the executive director for Menlo, and
Mhm.
he is the author of Joy Inc. And his foundational principle is you've got to have joy in your work. You have to have
Oh,
joy in your life. And I'm it's just such perfect that you start with joy, because I think that's something that we lose through the lifespan, right? Like we see joy in young children. We see joy in our still in our early and elementary children, in And I see that start to, we talk a lot about creativity and that vulnerability. We start building walls around ourselves as we get older, and we have these experiences with other people that discourage us or beat us down.
Mhm.
And I just think joy is something that is so undervalued in society, but essential to humanity and
Mm.
to, I just having a life that feels worthwhile, having joy.
Absolutely.
What does that look like? Like, how can every person just have joy every day of their life? It's not like, oh,
Yeah,
well, it'll be joyful at the holidays, I'll have some joy, maybe.
absolutely.
Um, but every day should be
Every
punctuated
day.
with joy. It's so important.
Lindsay, I think that that's one that we should probably spend a little time on, right? Because what you just said, please, no one take that lightly, because what you just described is so critical to our success as teachers, as leaders, as owners, as presidents, whatever role you're in. This particular strategy is one that we overlook, because especially
Yep,
our field, in our field, we're always giving and being withdrawn from, and we're always trying to create joy for other people, but the
that's right.
truth is we can't give anyone anything that we do not have ourselves. And
That's
so
right.
I would love for the participants to just kind of take a picture of this, right? Because this names all of them, but I would love to go deeper into this joy factor, if you're okay with that, Lindsay.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, because what you just said is so critical, that I don't, if I had to choose one to talk about the whole time, it would be joy. It would be joy. It's so fitting that it's the first one.
Yeah,
So,
it's essential. Without the foundation of joy, I don't think you can adequately do the rest, honestly. And what just it keeps coming to my mind, Quinice, as we're talking about this is for some reason, it's sticking in my head right now. When I learned to skip, that may sound really silly, but I remember as a child, like really wanting to skip on the playground. And I couldn't quite figure it out. Like my friends were skipping across the playground. Like, how do you do that? And I remember when I learned to skip and feeling so light and happy and
mm,
joyful. I think I skipped all the way home that after school that day.
wow,
And
wow.
how often, and I was just imagining, my staff probably would have thought I was nuts if I skipped into work one day. But wouldn't you want that feeling of joy every day when you're going to work?
Absolutely. Ab-
Feeling like you're just on the top of the world. And what is that message we're sharing with other people, to the children that we're
that's it.
serving? If I'm not skipping into my classroom, right? Like, why do the kids want to be there if I'm not happy to be there myself? I don't know.
Oh my goodness, Lindsay. Lindsay, listen. I mean, I could just drop the mic. Just drop the mic, Lindsay, because really, because what you said is so important. Because first of all, I want the audience to think about the things that bring them joy. And if you can, just
Amen.
type it in the chat. What is it that really brings you joy? Because, like Lindsay just said, skipping brought her joy. But when she felt that joy radiated through her and it came through her. And when that joy of skipping came through her, guess what? It landed somewhere. It landed on the people that were in your vicinity. And what happens, I think, Lindsay, is we forget we've got teachers and leaders and people going into organizations and leading them that don't have joy. And
That's
so
right.
what they're doing is, guess what? Their lack of joy also radiates from them, and it
That's right.
also goes and lands on the people that they serve. And so for me, Joy is this skyline. Do you see this beautiful sky? This was in my neighborhood, and I was just walking one day as the sun was setting, and I remember
Mm,
just stopping, and it's trees, and I'm outside in nature, and I ground, and I just feel the love of the universe in when I'm outside, and it brings so much joy to my life. I remember being a principal, and you know the stresses of being a principal.
oh,
I was
yes.
a principal, and they would be like on the radio, Dr. Miller, where's Dr. Miller? And I remember them saying, I think she's outside. Because sometimes there was so much happening that I needed to go to a space that was going to give me joy. Outside gives me joy so that I could come back and not project stress and frustration
Mm,
and concern on those that I serve, but I wanted them to feel my love, my heart, my joy. It didn't make the situations less challenging, but it did make a difference in how I responded to the space because I wanted them to feel that. And so the joy of the leader really does show itself within the organization. And so
absolutely.
these
And
kids, I remember this was one of my elementary schools where I was a principal. And I said, if you don't see smiles on children's faces, on teachers' faces, on your staff faces, if they are not radiating joy, I ask, well, what is the leader radiating?
that's right. That's right. And
Right?
we're leaders in all the spaces, right?
In
So
all
in
spaces.
all the spaces, we're all leading, and our children are watching each and every person in our communities. So, are we leading in the hallways? Are we leading in the cafeteria? Are we leading at pickup and drop off? Where are we? Are we leading at the front desk? Are we
Yes,
radiating that joy in every space
absolutely.
that we have?
In
And are
every
we
space.
radiating joy to one another? Right? Am I
Oh,
passing you in the hallway and giving you a high five? Dr. Miller, glad to see you. I'm so glad to be here. And if I'm
absolutely.
not, then
And,
why am I here? Because the paycheck, I can be making just the same
way
money
more
or
money.
lots of other places a lot easier. So,
Absolutely.
um,
And
and
this space, I call it oh wait. I don't know if you can hear the song. We've got to be
Clap along,
oh,
give
I
me
love the
feeling
song.
like a room without a
right.
roof.
Okay.
Clap,
So I call it I have a term for it, and I wanna mention. I see Michelle Blake's comment. That I wanna go to that comment, but I call it leadership malpractice when a
Mm-hmm.
leader doesn't take the time to ensure that they are happy within themselves, that they're
Amen.
happy within their jobs. Do they love their jobs? How are their relationships? That they are doing the things and making time for spaces that bring them joy and that bring them love. You've got to put your mask on and then put the mask on of everyone else. And when
That's right.
leaders don't do that, I call it leadership malpractice because if you don't take care of you and your joy, then you unintentionally are hurting others.
That's
You
right. That's right.
unintentionally are projecting negative thoughts, feelings, and beliefs and experiences and creating an environment that is loveless, that is
That's right.
joyless.
Yeah, and it's just it I love the book The Energy Bus by John Gordon, and he
Ah,
calls that he calls out energy vampires, right? And we've all been
yes,
around them, and
yes,
they're folks that just it's they drain your energy, and
absolutely.
it happens. It
It
really
does.
happens. And
Yeah.
sadly, we tend to start avoiding the people who really need the love and need the support the most. And if we're going to keep giving, then we've got to keep filling our buckets
We
and help
gotta
bring
keep
that.
feeling.
We've got to keep filling our buckets. And Dr. Miller, I wanted to point out we've got a comment from Lisa. Speaking of joy, she said, "The light in children's eyes is joy
Oh,
to me." I love that. And
that comment.
Boone says, watching my dog play and be a happy dog. Just that joyfulness, right? I mean, our four-legged friends, our four-legged family members, they can bring us a lot of joy too.
They
Um,
do.
they really do. And then Michelle's quote, see a child of an adult learner accomplish a challenging task. That joy
So
brings me joy.
So that one and Lisa's comment and yeah, thinking about the dog just made me smile too. But that one and Lisa's comment were they resonated with me
Mhm.
because Michelle and Lisa's comment because I remember the day that I recognized how the work that I was doing, children learning, children smiling, how that fueled me. And when we get to a space where we actually are given and filled with joy in the spaces that also are challenging, that are also withdrawing, that also take away from us, then it becomes this beautiful, beautiful cycle, right? Where children's love, smile, and people learning and accomplishing, it fills me. And now I'm able to give more. And if that is happening every day in our work, then people won't leave. People won't get burnt out. People won't be, so frustrated with coming to work and serving our babies and our teachers and our staffs and our communities because we're able to be fueled by the work that actually
Mhm.
requires fuel.
That's right.
Now that right there is the it's the pinnacle. And
Yeah.
so in the book also, I talk about how with enjoy, I kind of have this process of how you can get joy into your life. And it has to do with just kind of quieting yourself, breathing, taking deep breaths is really, really, listen, it's underestimated. Taking deep breaths, stopping and just looking at God and nature and how and being grateful, right? That also brings us joy. And being intentional about who we're with, what movies we're watching. Sometimes I'm not a social media person, but every now and then I just want to laugh. And I'll go and look at some comedy things on there and just laugh until my stomach hurts. Not because I want to spend time there, but because I need to be filled with laughter and I want to smile because I've got work to do that I want that to be what I radiate to the people that I love. And in the book, I talk about smiling, bringing joy, and the benefits of smiling. Did you know, Lindsay? Give you a few statistics. Did you know, according to Stibbage in 2024, there's an article called Very Well, and he says that there's major benefits to smiling, right? And you don't want to smile all the time, but if you smile, you can have longer life, stress relief, it flows to other people. That energy you put it on others. You reduce pain. You suggest that success is happening, right? It may not be, but it suggests success. It
Sure.
lowers your blood pressure. It changes your mood. It makes your mood elevate. It boosts your immune system. It makes you attractive and it helps you to stay positive. A simple
I
smile.
love it. Simple smiling. Who knew? Well, Stibbage knew, but you knew.
Stevich knew, he knew.
Yeah.
But joy, in this book, the Book of Joy, I love the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu. They are like the most amazing humans, sweetest humans on the planet. And they kind of talk about these three things that joy will do. Like it will like really help you get through hard times.
Yes. No,
We're
it's so
facing a
true.
lot of challenging. Go ahead.
Well, and I wanted to point out Rachel's comment. If you saw, the more grace I give myself, the more gratitude and joy I tap into.
Uh,
And I think that is such wisdom right there, is giving yourself space. And I presented recently at European Congress about trusting ourselves. And
mhm.
Bruce Lee had a quote that I used in my presentation. he says, never speak, always speak positively to yourself, because your body, when you speak negatively to yourself, your body picks up on
Mm,
that negative energy, right? It's like
yeah,
smiling. Like, I
yeah,
think it, it all ties in together, that when we're hard on ourselves, like it hurts our bodies, our physical
hurts our bodies.
spaces. It's not just the mental negativity. We're physically tearing ourselves down, right? When
Absolutely.
we're speaking negatively to ourselves. And
Absolutely.
I am my own worst critic, and I have to really work on speaking more positivity into my life. And I think about a woman I worked with a long time ago when I first started teaching, and she would we'd be in a staff meeting, we'd be in a grade level meeting, and she might realize she'd made a mistake, and she'd say, stupid, stupid, stupid. She'd be muttering this under her breath,
Mm,
and she was
mm,
always sick, missing days.
mm.
And I finally said to her, I'm so sorry. I don't mean to be in your business, but I am. But I can't bear to hear you say that to
Right.
yourself anymore.
Yeah.
Please stop.
Hmm.
We all
Yeah.
make mistakes. Just please. And she did stop saying it out loud, but I always wondered, I mean, did she actually replace the behavior, and replace the words that she was saying to
Right.
herself?
Right.
Because we
It makes a
sometimes are
difference.
repeating messages that we have heard from people around us, in our childhood. We may have been
Absolutely.
exposed to lots of negative energy.
Absolutely.
And we've really, as adults, we must take the effort, the time, the investment in ourselves to replace those negative tapes, and
Yes.
and uh, start these new tapes of joy
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
self-affirmation. And
Absolutely.
it's not just, a nice thing to do. It's not but it's essential for our
Oh,
well-being, and
it's
for all
essential.
those same reasons that you read, the importance of smiling. There are
Essential.
physical benefits, including longer life and more effective memory and cognitive abilities. It's it's it leads to a better life.
It
It
leads
just
to a
leads
better life.
it leads to a better life, period.
It's unfortunate that I love that comment that Rachel gave about giving herself grace, giving
Mhm.
herself forgiveness, giving like we have to better lead ourselves with love
Amen.
before we can lead anyone else with love.
That's right.
It's an essential part of service. We
Mhm.
have to be able to serve us, give ourselves grace, talk to ourselves kindly, like you just
Mhm.
mentioned. Like this joy within us. And if everyone can first prioritize their own joy, then imagine the world we could live in. The people that I think create hate and create chaos and create negative spaces, I guarantee you, Lindsay, they struggle with loving themselves. They can't love others because they don't really love themselves. They don't prioritize themselves, give themselves grace, give themselves forgiveness, and kind to themselves.
Mhm.
Ways to be kind, taking care of your body,
That's
ways to
right.
be kind, being outside, breathing and connecting, doing something nice for yourself because you are worth it. And I think it comes down to this notion of self-worthiness that we
Amen.
have to remember we are important. And when we understand that and we're kind to ourselves, then we can be kind to others. When we serve ourselves, we can serve others. When we give grace to ourselves, we will better be able to give grace to others. So yeah, this is my favorite strategy. And so I want to just kind of ask a question. We won't be able to talk through all of these questions as it relates to joy, but definitely these are some reflection questions that you should ask yourself when you're thinking, okay, I want to lead. I want to lead with love, but this first way of leading with love and just caring is joy. Um, do I consistently show up with joy? And how does that impact my team's energy? What daily practices help me maintain joy? as a leader. I asked everyone, what brings you joy, right? Some people can't even name the things that bring them joy anymore, and because they've just been really, really focused on other people's joy, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and um, so one of the, I would love to, ask the question for the participants, is what brings you genuine joy in your role and how you share
Mhm.
that with your team, right? When you think about
Yes.
your role that you're in, is there anything in your role that brings you joy? And then how do you share
Mhm.
that? I would love to hear from anyone. I don't think they can come off of mute, but what
Well,
about you?
well, I can tell you for me, thinking about when I was principal at Garden Oaks, when I would get really, bogged down with all the day-to-day administrivia, as I would say, I would recenter on the reason I was there. And what would bring me joy would be walking around the campus. And that might mean walking, to see children at recess, walking the track and talking to kids who were out
Mm,
there who wanted to do a lap at the track with me,
mhm,
walking through the early childhood wing, getting those hugs from our 3-year-old,
mhm.
walking up to the middle school wing and just listening to kids, tell me what they were learning or show
Mhm.
me a project that they were genuinely excited and proud of. That's what brought me joy.
Ugh,
Um,
ugh.
you know,
And
it
how did
just
you share that with your team?
well, that's a great question. A lot of times it would be, in that moment, thanking the teacher, thanking the teaching assistant in the classroom, like the person in the room, just, walking over if they were engaged in a lesson with a child, leaving a sticky note behind and just saying, "Thank you for all you do. I appreciate you."
It's so
Um,
funny you say that because that is actually one of the ways to motivate. So in the book, I talk about being able to facilitate joy, incorporate joy, and motivate joy, right? And
mhm.
one of those ways, and that's how you can share it with your teams, right? You share it with your teams through those ways. And one of them is exactly what you said, Lindsay. For the motivation part, is showing gratitude and
Mhm.
thanking someone genuinely, right?
Yes.
Because they gave you joy. And now, when you thank them, that now gives them joy. Now they feel the same joy that you just felt. Well done.
Yeah, thank you.
You're
And
just,
the funny thing about it is some teachers, I'd walk back through their room a week or 2 later, and they'd have that sticky note still, by their desk hanging on the wall.
yeah,
And I think it just reminds me how important it is to say thank you, just to express that to
yeah.
another person. It may seem insignificant in that moment, even, giving someone a high five. In that moment, it can feel lonely being, you know, in a classroom.
It can. It can. So I know that our time is winding down. Do we have any more comments? And I'm gonna
Yes, we
go.
do. I see
Oh,
Lisa
great.
says casual conversations among the team about moments of awe are part of their daily communications at the start and end of each day.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's really good.
And Adia also says we have a practice at the beginning of each faculty meeting where we take some time to share moments where student actions or classroom experiences align with our values. And it brings me joy to see us living out our values. It is
Oh,
also helpful to share these little moments with each other.
listen, I love both of those because both of those speak to the facilitation space where leaders have to facilitate, I mean, have to incorporate, they have to incorporate systems in the schools to be able to show joy, to be able to to be able to allow teachers and staff to share joy. And if it's not a system, Lindsay, I know that you know this, but if there's no system for it, there's no way it can be done. And as leaders, it's our jobs. You okay? You good? Bless you if you sneezed.
I'm good. Thank you.
It's our jobs to create systems for even joy. And so what those two comments speak to that. So listen, I know that our time is up, and I wish we could have dove into them. Please, please, please get the book, Lead with Love, because I really go into these concepts a little bit deeper. And so I just wanted to really quickly just give a quick sentence for each one of these so that they just kind of have an awareness of what these 8 strategies are. Is that
Perfect.
okay with you,
Yes,
Lindsay?
that'd be great. Thank you.
So we talked about joy extensively, and that was my favorite one. Then the next one is undo your tie, and essentially it's about leading from your humanity. That we first show up as humans, right? And so this strategy basically is helping leaders understand how to lead with humanity in mind, which improves connections and staff relationships and that lead organizations to safety and success. So that's the U. The S is surrender success, or you may hear me say surrender for success. And essentially, this is about empowering your people, okay, and letting go of all of the control. This strategy, it focuses basically on how leaders should kind of leverage and engage and empower people and teams and other stakeholders to ensure the success of the organization. As leaders, we kind of take it all because we're accountable, but in doing that, oh, we're doing such a disservice to ourselves and to those that we lead. The next one is take time to listen, another one of my favorite ones. And it's just about the human need for people to feel heard, right? This strategy, it helps leaders kind of create a systematic structure to promote active listening, not listening to respond, but truly, truly listening to the hearts of those that they serve, and making when people feel heard, you be surprised at how much they will do for the organization. C is communicate. And so I believe that communication can cure cancer. Listen, please make sure you all go get screened. But really not that cancer, but this kind of chaos cancer, this toxicity that forms in organizations because of the lack of communication. The he say, she say, people are always afraid and scared for no reason, just because they don't know what's happening. And so this strategy kind of explores both the negative and the positive impacts of consistent communication and provides tools for leaders to use to ensure effective communication with their teams is used. Communication is a huge act of love. It may seem small. Oh no. When people feel like they know what's happening, it just reduces so much stress in the organization. And it's definitely an act of love. Next one. The A is for affirm, acknowledge, and account for. I call it the AAA approach. Now, you all have your AAA card. I don't know if you have AAA, but as you know, a woman that's driving in Houston, Texas, that knows nothing about vehicles, I am so glad I have AAA. Do you have AAA, Lindsay? I mean, you're not in the States anymore, but do you have AAA?
I have had AAA since I was in high school, and I love
Okay.
it. I love it. I think I'm almost 50 years with AAA.
Oh yeah, I mean, I love it.
Yeah,
So
it's like,
this is one of
don't
my
go without it.
favorites. Where do you go without AAA? Nowhere. And I want you to think
Nowhere.
about AAA when you think about this strategy, okay? Affirm, acknowledge, and account for. And this strategy, okay, it's critical because what it basically is this foundation that you set. Affirming your teachers, right? Affirming people and letting them know how you believe in them. And then acknowledging their hard work sets you a foundation to be able to effectively hold people accountable. Accountability without affirmation and acknowledgement can be abuse. Ooh,
Mm, wow.
this is one of my favorites. So this strategy basically dissects each of those and kind of helps you understand how without these actions, success won't actually happen, because without accountability, you can't be successful, right? However, are we grounding accountability in love? Are we grounding it in, I want what's best for you because I care about you, and now I'm going to hold you accountable? Are we grounding it in those things? Because if not, then it's abuse. It's abuse. You didn't do
Mhm.
this. You didn't do this. Do this. Do that. Do that. Do that. Do that. And it's like, oh my God. But if you say, man, I just love you, are such an amazing teacher. And I'm glad that our students have you. And I just want to acknowledge, that hard work that you put in, even outside of the classroom. However, it's really important that we're sticking to the curriculum, because the curriculum is what's best for kids. And the curriculum is what we truly believe in. And so make sure that in your lessons, you're sticking to the Montessori curriculum, because that is where our hearts lie. Can you do that? See, that's different.
I love that.
So that's the A. The R stands for reflect or reflection. I believe, Lindsay, that leadership reflection is literally the highest responsibility that we have, both to ourselves and to those that we serve. And
Yeah.
so this strategy allows leaders to kind of reflect, and reflection being kind of one of the most, I believe, the most important characteristics. But it talks about how leaders are responsible for growing and developing others, but first they must grow and develop themselves. Okay,
Mhm.
they've got to grow and develop themselves. And we also have to put ourselves in spaces where we're getting data, that we're reviewing the data about our behaviors, so that we can reflect and so that we can get better. Period.
Mhm.
Period. That is an act of love, a leader getting better. And then finally, the E stands for excellent example. And I kind of take that out of the Atomic Habits book. I use that kind of as a foundational text for that one. And that's when the leader is an example, shows an example of excellence. When you do that, people will follow you what you do. They'll follow what you do. And so when you are operating at high levels of excellence, then you can ask that of others. But if you're coming in late, and then you try to tell a teacher that they're coming in late, and then the teacher's coming in late and they're mad that the student's coming in late, no, 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 no. We've got to show excellence. So this strategy basically is going to take a deeper look at how leadership modeling impacts the performance of all stakeholders in the entire organization. So those are the 8 strategies on
So
how
true.
to lead with love. They are actions, they are verbs, they require something from us. However, we have everything that we need to do that. So listen, I had like a whole entire thing
We're
that I
gonna have
need
to
to
have you come back again because there's so much
thank
more.
you.
Thank
Listen,
you
what we'll
so
do is
much.
you have to bring me back for like maybe once a month, and we'll just go over one
There you go.
strategy.
I love it. I
But
love
I
that.
but I do
Yes.
want to say that to do lead with love is a decision. It's a daily
That's right.
choice that we make. Because there's a lot of leaders in the roles, in classrooms, in organizations that don't make the decision to lead with love. And so it's a daily choice that we have to have. So I do have the books online on Amazon. If you put my name in, they'll come up. And more importantly, I do a podcast where I'm talking about specifically just leading with love, and I'm going to go through the book the entire year. And so if you can't see it on YouTube, it's on Spotify, and I'm going to just be going really deeply into each one of these strategies. And I would love for you to kind of join this movement of leading with love in every area. I'm becoming a better mom because of the lead with love strategies, for
Oh
sure.
my gosh, this is so great. Queinnise, I know I feel like I'm evolving into a better human having spent time with you this evening. Regina is asking if this recording will be available to attendees. Yes. Regina Dyson is the chair of Montessori for Social Justice, and
Wonderful.
she is preparing a post for the Montessori for Social Justice Facebook page. So, yes, Regina, the recording will be
Thank
on
you,
the
Regina.
IMC YouTube channel. And as Dr. Miller just pointed out, please join her on her podcast, follow her, and watch her YouTube channel. And we have so much more to learn from your example, from you leading with love. Again, thank you for being here this evening, and thank you to our audience. It's been great spending this time together with you this evening. And we'll be back here next week with another leadership webinar. And Queinnise will be following you, Lead with Love podcast. Thanks again. Have a good evening.
Thank you.